Evening, Chris. Thanks, my friend.
You bet.
Much appreciated. And thanks to you at home for joining us this hour. Today is D-Day, the date on which 160,000 Allied troops threw themselves into the surf and climbed the cliffs off the beaches to beat the Nazis back in France, to give the U.S. and Allied forces a toehold in Normandy, from which they would ultimately break the Nazis' grip on France and on Europe, and ultimately on the world. 74 years ago today, on this day alone, more than 9,000 Allied troops died on this single day fighting against the Germans. And of course, you know that. If you know anything about American military history, you know about World War II. If you know anything about World War II, you know about D-Day, about that heroic, epic, impossible, massive effort in Normandy where tens of thousands of Americans put their lives on the line in unimaginable conditions, where thousands died, all just in the first day alone. So the U.S. could put the fight to the Nazis in Europe and beat the heck out of the Nazis. You know that, right? You know that. The U.S. State Department does not know that. The Trump administration has just installed a new U.S. ambassador in Germany who is not doing great. For the second time in a couple of weeks now, the State Department has had to field questions about his behavior in Germany and comments that he's made that are widely seen in Germany as super inappropriate for any ambassador. Honestly, in his first month that he's been there, some German officials are already talking openly about Germany possibly rejecting him and sending him back to the United States. But while fielding questions on the new ambassador again yesterday, State Department spokesperson Heather Nauert, who the Trump administration hired straight off Fox and Friends, she explained that despite whatever else might have come out of Ambassador Rick Grenell's mouth this time, nobody should doubt the strength and the solidity of the U.S. relationship with Germany. She said, quote, "We have a very strong relationship with the government of Germany." And then she wanted to show off that she knows her history, too, when it comes to us and Germany.
Is the anniversary of the D-Day invasion. We obviously have a very long history with the government of Germany, and we have a strong relationship with the government.
We have a strong relationship with the government of Germany, a long-standing, strong relationship. Just look at D-Day. Us and Germany on D-Day. D-Day was us attacking Germany. I mean, D-Day is a great way to note the strength of the commitment and the historical solidarity between us and our World War II allies. Germany is a lot of things, but on that day in particular, our relationship was a little different that day with Germany than it was with our allies. You know, and that's one thing. If you're like failing a book report in 4th grade, maybe you have played some weird dystopian alternate history video games where the U.S. didn't fight the Nazis in World War II. So you're confused as to who might have been on which side on D-Day. But if you're the spokesperson for the United States State Department on the D-Day anniversary, this is something else. This is our lives now, during the Trump administration. Lots of news today. Senior staffers at the EPA are jumping ship, we've learned tonight, leading to lots of speculation tonight that EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt might finally be reaching the end of his 9th life as the most scandal-ridden cat in the Trump administration cabinet. We'll have more on that story in just a minute. Democrats pretty much ran the table last night on the biggest primary day in the country ahead of this November's crucial midterm elections. Nothing is set in stone. Everything is subject to change. But the Democratic Party after last night is pretty much exactly where they want to be in terms of positioning themselves to try to win control of at least one House of Congress this fall. We're going to have Steve Kornacki here in just to talk about what happened there and what happens next. This story that broke this afternoon, I gotta say, I'm not sure exactly what to make of, but you should know this exists. BuzzFeed has now broken the news that the president's eldest daughter, and now White House senior advisor, Ivanka Trump, she was not only involved in those secret efforts to pursue a Trump Tower Moscow project during the presidential campaign. As part of that previously unreported involvement, quote, During the campaign, Ivanka connected her father's personal lawyer with a Russian athlete who offered to introduce Donald Trump to Vladimir Putin to facilitate the Trump Tower Moscow project. According to BuzzFeed, details on Ivanka Trump's interactions with this Russian have been scrutinized by the Senate Intelligence Committee and by Robert Mueller's investigators at the special counsel's office. It's not clear where that might be going, but at the very least, quote, the contacts reveal that even as her father was campaigning to become president of the United States, Ivanka Trump was connecting Michael Cohen with a Russian who offered to arrange a meeting with one of the U.S.'s adversaries in order to help close a business deal that could have made the Trump family millions of dollars. And, you know, all of the armchair psychiatrists among us have long argued that this president is particularly aggravated and can be particularly unnerved by any potential scandal or trouble involving his kids, particularly involving his eldest daughter, Ivanka. That expectation alone just puts kind of a silent exclamation point on a headline like this one today at BuzzFeed. Ivanka Trump was in contact with a Russian who offered a Trump-Putin meeting. But again, we're not sure what exactly investigators might be doing with this information. We just know that they've got it. So there's a lot of interesting news that's been breaking over the course of the day today, a lot of gobs. The most gobsmacking news in American politics today, though, I think actually happened 5 time zones away in the UK. In the UK today, we finally got settled one of the core questions at the heart of the big existential national security, foreign influence scandal that looms over everything else in this presidency. Everybody on what I like to think of as Earth One, the entire U.S. intelligence community, the bipartisan membership of the Senate Intelligence Committee, even occasionally the Trump administration itself, everybody on Earth One admits now that Russia, the Russian government, Russian military, Russian intelligence, interfered in the U.S. presidential election in 2016 to try to help Donald Trump win that election. To put a finer point on it, we got that indictment in February, filed against 13 Russian individuals and 3 Russian corporate entities. Indictment filed in federal court in Washington that spelled out the findings of Robert Mueller's office, the special counsel's office, on how exactly Russia conducted that operation, at least the part where they conducted their own influence operation from outside the United States, targeting the American public to try to skew U.S. public opinion in ways that would benefit Trump during the election. We've got that spelled out in that indictment. What we don't have any definitive public findings on thus far is the question of whether or not the Russian government also found ways to directly assist the Trump campaign as an entity, rather than just targeting U.S. public opinion. I mean, we do have evidence about that, but we don't have definitive public findings of the kind you might see in an indictment.